Namo Buddhaya. A very good morning to respected venerables, brothers and sisters gathered here today. On behalf of Nalanda Buddhist Society, we warmly welcome you to this special Dhamma Forum held in conjunction with the Dhamma Day observance. We are glad to see all of you gathered from near and far on this auspicious occasion. I am Aili, your host for today's forum. We will start the session today with the morning chanting. Let us calm our minds, put aside any thoughts of the past and future, and direct our minds with reverence and faith towards the Buddha, Dhamma, and Sangha.
Andamayang buddhassa bhagavato pubbha bhaganamakarang karomasi. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa Homage to Him, the Blessed One, the Worthy One, the Perfectly Enlightened One. Andamayang tisarana gammana pathang karomasi. Buddhang saranang gacchami. Dhammang saranang gacchami. Sanghang saranang gacchami. Dutiyampi Buddhang saranang gacchami. Dutiyampi Dhammang saranang gacchami. Dutiyampi Sanghang saranang gacchami. Tatiyampi Buddhang saranang gacchami. Tatiyampi Dhammang saranang gacchami. Tatiyampi Sanghang saranang gacchami. I go to the Buddha for refuge. I go to the Dhamma for refuge. I go to the Sangha for refuge. For the second time, I go to the Buddha, Dhamma, and Sangha for refuge. For the third time, I go to the Buddha, Dhamma, and Sangha for refuge. Andamayang pancha sikkhapada pathang karomasi. Panatipata veramani sikkhapadang sammadiyami. Adinnadana veramani sikkhapadang sammadiyami. Kamesu miccācara veramani sikkhapadang sammadiyami. Musavada veramani สิกขาปะดังสัมมาดิยามิสุราเมรัยมัจจาปัมมาดัฏฐานาเวรมณีสิกขาปะดังสัมมาดิยามิอิมานิปัญจสิกขาปะดานิสัมมาดิยามิอิมานิปัญจสิกขาปะดานิสัมมาดิยามิอิมานิปัญจสิกขาปะดานิสัมมาดิยามิ I observe the precept to abstain from killing living beings. I observe the precept to abstain from taking things not given. I observe the precept to abstain from sexual misconduct. I observe the precept to abstain from false speech. I observe the precept to abstain from consuming anything that causes intoxication or heedlessness. I undertake to observe these 5 precepts properly. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Sukhi Hontu, may you be well and happy. Every year, on the full moon day of Asala month, we honor the occasion when the Buddha first preached the Dhamma to the 5 ascetics. In this seminal teaching, the Buddha expounded the 4 noble truths, which became the cornerstone of his teachings for the next 45 years until his passing. Today, we are gathered to celebrate this momentous occasion by learning and reflecting on the Buddha's wise and enlightening teachings, together with spiritual teachers and friends. In the special Dhamma Forum today, we will explore the theme, Living Life with Purpose. After presentations by the speakers, we will also have an opportunity to pose questions to them to help us clarify our doubts. You may type the questions in the comment box and the speakers will try their best to address them. The forum today will be moderated by Director of Nalanda Institute, Achariya Siang Chye. Achariya Siang Chye has been a pillar of support in the Buddhist community for the past 3 decades. Inspired and guided by the late Venerable Sri Dhammananda, he has been spiritedly giving Dhamma talks across the Klang Valley and tirelessly leading Buddhist societies. Achariya Siang Chye's humble and selfless spirit is truly admirable and one that we can all learn to emulate. Let us fold our palms to invite Achariya Siang Chye to commence today's forum.
Thank you, Sister Aili. Dear Dhamma brothers and sisters, welcome to today's forum, Living Life with Purpose, organized by Nalanda Institute. We are living in challenging times. After many months of observing and reflecting on the effects of the present pandemic, we have decided to organize a forum based on today's theme. Why should we live life with purpose? What are the benefits to this? We've come to understand that having a purpose in life is extremely important in giving that human being's life meaning. Seen here is Dr. Viktor Frankl, an Austrian psychologist who lived through the Second World War. Dr. Frankl and his family and friends were among the millions of Jews that were put into the Nazi concentration camps. Dr. Frankl was tortured along with his friends, Many died, but he never gave up. How did he survive those terrible years? He later revealed that it was purpose. He had the consuming objective of wanting to see his family and his wife again. This kept him alive. He saw that those around him who did not have purpose very quickly died. Later, he wrote a book about having purpose in life. And this book has become essential reading for many psychology students. He often taught despair is suffering without meaning. That is, if we suffer without hope, it is actually not having any meaning in one's life. Friedrich Nietzsche, a very famous German philosopher, once wrote, "He who has a why to live for can bear almost any how." That means if we have purpose, we can take all the suffering that comes with it. But we need to have that purpose to drive us forward day after day in any of the challenges that we are facing. The Buddha was striving as a bodhisattva, was also dedicated to a purpose, that is to gain enlightenment and lead as many beings as possible out of suffering. In this picture, we see the bodhisattva meeting Dipankara Buddha in another world cycle. In that meeting, our bodhisattva, who was to become Buddha Gautama, received the sure prediction from Buddha Dipankara. And from that day on, he strived for 100,000 world cycles and an inestimable period. This period of time is beyond our understanding. In order to refine his parami, the perfections, to be born as the Prince Siddhartha, to go forth in search of enlightenment. All this while, these many world cycles, he was guided by his motto, "Me niwata abhikkhama." In English, it means never falter, never give up, always go forward. That is such an inspiring motto for us to take note of. This same spirit inspired and guided the Venerable Xuanzang as he journeyed from China to India in order to bring back the scriptures to his home country. Along the way, he faced all kinds of dangers, all kinds of terrain, from desert to forest to jungle. But he never gave up. That was the spirit that saw the valuable scriptures being brought back to China for all the Buddhists there to study. Brothers and sisters, I hope today's sharing will offer you food for thought about having purpose in your life. Our first panel speaker is Venerable Sumangala, one of the few ordained Malaysian nuns under the Theravada tradition. We know that going forth as a nun in this present age is indeed challenging. And Venerable shares with us her positive views, which has kept her going as a Theravada nun all these many years.
From the very beginning, I knew it was going to be tough to take the homeless life as a female renouncing. The journey has not been easy at all, but it's definitely been a fulfilling one. As a layperson, I led a comfortable life with close-knit family, supportive colleagues, and friends. After my graduation, I worked as an assistant admin manager and later as a branch manager in a private company with a kind and benevolent employer. until my early retirement. Since young, I always ponder on this question: what is the purpose of life? I was deeply touched when my cousin brother passed away at the tender age of 10. I witnessed how my uncle came to grief and experienced the pain of separating from a dearly loved one. This episode made me ponder, what is life? And how do I end all this suffering? Later in my youth, I saw a serene-looking monk and a group of people meditating peacefully. That sight delighted and triggered me to take up the spiritual path as a monastic. After many years of preparation and supportive conditions, at the age of 39, I finally lived my home life and became an Anagarini in June 2005. And in 2015, I undertook higher ordination as a Theravada Bhikkhuni. From the very beginning, I knew it was going to be tough to take the homeless life as a female renunciant. I experienced some physical discomfort during my training and even fell ill due to the weather and food in the foreign countries where I undertook my early training. But as much I faced immense challenges, I never gave up because I knew my purpose and the path that I'm taking in this life. My noble wish is to continue to develop and share the holistic teaching of the Buddha with others, and also to provide a Theravada Bhikkhuni nunnery and Dhamma training center. Hopefully, I can pave way and guide the lay practitioners to practice as a compassionate and wise householder, or to go forth as a member of the monastic Sangha to walk the Noble Eightfold Path and to experience the noble life, to be sorrowless, stainless, and secure. Namo Buddhaya. Today we will be sharing about living a life with purpose. Life is actually to be treasured. Living a life without purpose is actually meaningless. For one will revolve in doing activities that goes around the cycle of suffering, physically and mentally. And especially the mental pain of disappointment, stress, anger, remorse, fear, and most of all, in the cycle of bondage. So, having set oneself to the right cause and purpose of life is indeed a blessing. In our life, it's so important to have this purpose because it sets us the way how we live. Just like a tongkat to an old man, and also a compass to a sailor, or a GPS to a driver. It's so important because without this purpose or direction, one will be wandering in the samsaric world. So it's also very important for us to know in this samsaric world, our human life is indeed not very long. For example, in Malaysia, the lifespan that we have averagely for men is only about 75 years. And for the women, well, they endure better. They have 79 years old average lifespan. So by knowing this, we must always think, in this short span of life, what are we going to do? I began to start my own journey to learn, to practice, and also to diligently reflect on the purpose of life, and to learn the Buddha Dhamma. I started this during my university years and throughout the journey until now. Of course, the most important thing is renunciation, as we learn not just by thinking, but through the experience of our bhavana, our practice. So in the question of why I become a nun, and this is always asked to me, I used to answer them that if one practice well in the Buddha Dhamma and abide by the Dhamma, then one knows what is this body and mind all about, then one will be released from the grasping of the 5 aggregates. And with this release, then one have the confidence, full confidence that this is the way how we live our life. And this is the way how peace and security can be achieved. So in this, that's why we do not say that I want to become a nun. But to me, becoming is suffering. But when you realize the truth, the Dhamma, when you taste the Dhamma, that is where renunciation comes naturally. So you don't have to become, but you will naturally be one, as renunciation takes place from within and not because you want to become someone. So in this journey, having renounced, do we still face challenges in life? Of course, because we are still in this samsaric world, and we are still dealing with different kinds of environment, meeting different kinds of people with different kinds of expectations, and also perceptions, assumptions, and many more. So people always ask me, when renounce, what is the challenges that I face? What is the purpose of renunciation? And interestingly, many people still think that renunciation sometimes is like trying to escape from the reality of life. Or some people even think renunciation because one experience heartbroken, or maybe it's because they could not, live in a society anymore, or they are called antisocial. And some even worse, they say, renunciation is the abnormal. So is it true? This is because they haven't tasted the Dhamma. When one tastes the Dhamma, then one will truly know that it's not because of all this, but there are many challenges that people will give you because due to their own perception. But if you have Dhamma in your heart, you're not shaken by all this, because you know the way. You know the Noble Eightfold Path, and the way to cultivate the mind, and the way to find peace and security. Even my own mother, when the first time she asked me whether I will get a boyfriend or to get married, when I answered her that I would like to renounce, she got shocked and very worried and depressed for 1 week, cannot eat and cannot sleep. Why? Because it's her own assumption and expectation, because she would love to have a graduate son-in-law, and that will be like through me. But anyway, after giving her some Dhamma, coaching her, letting her understand the way, the Buddha Dhamma, and the way to happiness, then finally she gave up her own idea. And now she has embraced Dhamma better in her life, also to walk the Noble Path. So these are the things that people will perceive in our way of living, a meaningful way to live the Dhamma way. So next is actually when we start to live a simple life. During my journey to renunciation, I have some training in overseas, in Sri Lanka, in Australia. So what are the challenges that we face? Because from a lay life, a household life to a renounced life, at the beginning I took 8 precepts because I was advised to start my journey to know whether I'm inclined to the monastic life. So during the training, of course, in overseas, food is one of the challenges that we face as we, especially in Sri Lanka. It's quite oily food and spicy, and also food that actually creates a lot of wind. So in our Chinese stomach, it's very different from the Sri Lankan stomach, because the food is very different. And but how do we overcome that challenges? I remember the first 2 weeks I was there, I couldn't meditate because there's so much wind that is running in the body. And later, as I contemplate and reflected, I found out that this is due to the food. And finally, I become a little bit smarter. So I take more rice than all the beans, and also even the bananas also cause a lot of wind. So these are the things, I think, knowledge on food, also help us to stay healthy. Then we can actually practice better. Another thing is, of course, the weather, cold weather, that is very challenging. And so we still continue to work to give service day in and day out. And we serve actually for long hours, working, taking care of the center, and also some time for our practice. But in reality, we make all the times for practice. When I came back and also practiced in Malaysia, so there are times when we have to also train ourselves alone. Living alone, people may think that, it will scare you to death. Indeed, in that place, of course, I met with many things, especially snakes, in secondary jungle, especially near this palm oil plantation, there are a lot of snakes. I think in my life, staying there for about 4 years to 5 years, I met about, or hear, or even have to get the snake out from the building, nearly about 40 times, So big snake, small snake, long snake, short snake, colorful snake, white snake, black snake, But again, like I said, knowledge and understanding, and also knowing how to deal with them, then we will be able to safeguard our own safety in a way of when we practice the Dhamma will protect you. Again, like I said, we are also be careful with intruders in case, and some people may also be very scared of the unseen one. So, but in any way, all this can be overcome when they have faith in the Buddha, Dhamma, and the Sangha, by practicing the way to increase our faith and security that comes through our mind, and not to be scared of things that come by our way. We need to face it, because in life, fear leads us to nowhere. And once we face it, we'll be able to overcome it. For example, there's an experience that one night I walk and I see something like white flash things among the trees, And I thought, it's not so scary, isn't it? Is that anything that is, we will start to imagine, is it ghost? But anyway, I keep myself walking back to my dorm, about 10 minutes. And once or twice again, the white flashes come again. But anyway, when I reach my dorm and I try to settle my mind, then I brave myself to really look at it and to see what it is. And finally, I realized it's a far away, what they call that flashlight from an army camp. And then I laugh at myself. Sometimes when our mental, we allow our mind to proliferate, so it can create a lot of fear in us. But when we face it, then we'll be able to overcome whatever it is. So this is another things that I experience. But I always believe we can always overcome whatever that comes into our life. So why? Because when we have Dhamma and we see how the Buddha overcome problems and challenges, then we can also emulate and also be able to overcome it. So these are the life of a renunciant. And what about, things that we do, and we depend a lot on the requisites offered by the people. So indeed, my mother was worried before my ordination. They say, what if nobody offer food to you? And what if, because we are staying near jungle, and what if they are what they call tigers? Because my mom was a rubber tapper before. So all these are worries that people have. And to us, the 4 requisites is enough for us. But there are times when also there are challenges, when especially when you need certain food. But of course, you are not supposed to request. Whatever that people offer you, you take it. Then you have to also know your own health condition. And I think that is very important, because if not, then you will also become ill. So knowing condition and knowing your health and knowing the food that you are taking is all very important, because without knowledge, we tend to fall ill, whether physically or mentally. So knowledge is very important, and the skill and also the experience. So in terms of food, in terms of taking care of ourselves, and also in terms of living by whatever that people offer us, we will have to deal with it with gratefulness and appreciation. Next one is actually how I live with this purpose in life, is that when I start my journey as an 8 preceptor, life is not as challenging. Although as an 8 preceptor, we are practicing the 5 precepts and also the principles for renunciation, the 8 precepts. And from there, my journey to seminary also takes some years, about 3 years before I take my Dasa Seal or seminary ordination. And at the beginning, I do not know that to be a nun, or maybe to go through this process of renunciation or ordination. I was quite naive because I thought, when we go forth, that's it, finished story. But in the process of, becoming the Sangha, there are also procedures and development to be taken. So that's why we said higher morality, higher mind, and higher wisdom. So in different levels of practice, we need different guidelines, so that the mind can be guided and also can be trained with the threefold training, which is morality, samadhi, and wisdom. So in the process of training, of course, there is also very challenges, because in Malaysia and in the world also, people will be still sometimes thinking that, is that possible to really take higher ordination? So in the process of this, again, perceptions comes in. A lot of people have different kind of perception, but I think when you have Dhamma in your heart, when the Dhamma unfolds in your heart, when you know what is suffering, what causes suffering, and the end of suffering, and the way to end the suffering, especially following the Noble Eightfold Path. And then you will be able to sustain and to continue to live, abide by the Dhamma. So then whatever perception that comes in, or accusation, or whatever assumption that people make, it doesn't affect you. So you can continue to thrive, to practice the Dhamma, and also to share this Dhamma with others. So I think the most important thing in the Buddha Dhamma is that taking the Buddha as our main icon, main teacher, and emulate his noble enlightenment, and also the noble way of life. Be free from, delusion, and they be free from fear, and find security, in the path that leads to the end of suffering. I managed to go for a pilgrimage to India, and the first thing that I really experienced is when I stand in front of the stupa at Bodh Gaya. Behind the stupa is the Bodhi tree. As I stood there, I realized that, the Buddha is so really down to earth. And if the Buddha can actually attain enlightenment, we too can attain that path to enlightenment. And I made an aspiration. The first part is, may I be able to attain enlightenment just like the Buddha. And the second part is, may I be able to join the Bhikkhuni Sangha. And the third part is to become a teacher, which can propagate the Dhamma in a clear, simple, and profound way. And to this, as I become a Bhikkhuni, I also continue to practice to also help others to walk the path. So my aspiration for now is to also prepare and help to build a place where in future the female renunciant will have a place for training, a proper training, and also have a place for their residents so that they can live in a community of practitioner as a bhikkhuni, and also for potential candidates to come forward to be ordained. So with this, we hope that more and more people will be able to walk the Dhamma's way, and may the Buddha Sasana continue to thrive for the well-being, happiness, and benefit of all.
Thank you, Venerable. We see that Venerable's service to the Sasana has kept her energized and positive. Truly, when one sees suffering, walking the Noble Eightfold Path is the only way forward. Our next speaker really doesn't need any introduction. Datuk Chia energetically shares his knowledge of Dhamma and life in general in many Buddhist centers in and around Malaysia, from the north to the south, from the east to the west. Let us introduce his story as a Buddhist and as a corporate figure, along with the many difficulties that he has had to face.
I held many positions as directors, as a CEO in even public listed companies. But despite my work and family commitments, I still dedicate myself actively to the various Dhammadutta works. And I find a lot of great joy in doing them. My journey in the Dhamma began in Malacca Siang Temple. I attended Sunday school there, and a large part of my youth was spent in the temple. The late Chief Reverend was the one that really inspired us and sparked our missionary spirit to spread the Buddha's teachings to as many people as possible. Due to the nature of my work after my graduation, I was actually posted to many other states in Malaysia. So in those travels, I noticed that there was a lack of understanding about Buddhism in many communities, as most either only know folk beliefs and also wrong understandings and superstitions. So with encouragement and advice from the late chief, I started several Buddhist societies in the towns I was posted. And together with Datuk Victor Wee, we also went around towns giving Dhamma talks. And also at the same time, we were like wandering salesmen, giving out Dhamma books from our car booth. So by doing that, we hope to spark interest in Buddhism from the locals. One of my most memorable and enriching Dhammadutta work has been supporting the development of Mahabodhi International Meditation Center in Ladakh. Although it was very tough in the beginning, little by little, we have been able to build schools, build facilities for the aged, hostels, hospitals, that give many of the children and residents there access to education and also an opportunity to spend a good life. My passion for the flourishing of the Buddha's teachings has actually given me a lot and immense energy and great joy in my life. I feel truly blessed to be able to serve the Sasana and play a part in propagating and spreading the Dhamma to as many people as possible. This was my sense of purpose in my life. A very good morning, Sukhi Hotu. I'm very happy to be invited to tell the story of my beginnings, of where I was very interested in the Buddha Dhamma. And subsequently, as I go along in my age, I begin to develop very strong interest in the Buddha's teachings and continue even until today, which is almost about 45 years. Initially, when I first started to learn the Dhamma, there were a lot of dilemmas that has been faced, especially when you are a career person and you have actually decided that you wanted to continue with the layman's life, having families, having children, and then eventually working for a living, working to accumulate wealth. These are actually some dilemmas that many of us faced as a result. But I was actually very impressed that the Buddha has not only taught to the renunciates, he has also gave a lot of valuable lessons to those who wishes to retain back their layman's life. And many lessons learned is that as an ordinary lay person, we can still continue to show our loving kindness, we can still continue to show our altruistic joy, we can still continue to show our compassion, and also maintain a lot of stability of mind. And in the workings and course of working life, the most important lessons that we all must have is to be able to maintain calmness and peacefulness. Because a lot of lessons learned was, if you are in a state of desperation and panic, the answers will never come by. So it's always good that we maintain our calmness, maintain our peacefulness, maintain our focus of mind. And it is very sure that the answers will then come in. Now, in the facing of a lot of crises and in a lot of difficulties in life, we must never allow ourselves to sink into a panic, must never allow ourselves to be desperate. And at the same time, we must maintain a lot of good and peace. Because answers are always there, and the Buddhas have always said that there is no problem which cannot be resolved. As long as we know the roots of it, then we are able to identify the roots, and that is the cause. And if we are able to identify the cause, then we know how to cease from it. And if we are able to cease from it, then the difficulties and the suffering will then also cease at the same time. So this is the Four Noble Truths. And this important lesson has actually guided me a lot. Because every time when there is an issue, I will always seek to find out what was the cause of that issue. And the cause of the issue is definitely something related to my attachments, related to my desire, related to my clinging. And once you realize that, then you are able then to let it go. Now, a lot of disappointment in life happens when we actually can't bear to lose something, or we can't bear to detach ourselves from some clinging. And because of that, we continue to be in states of difficulties and suffering. So only and until we are able to understand the causes and cease from the causes, then we will be free from it. So this lesson has actually helped me a lot in my, what you call, daily lives. And at the same time, the Dhammapada verses has a lot of lessons that we could pick up from. I remember there was one instance when I was about 19, and that was my first year of university life. all of a sudden, my body starts to ache. And then you'll find that all the limbs starts to swell. And I thought that was actually a very serious condition. And I was warded in the hospital, and the doctors just could not find the cause and the difficulties of it. So I decided to fall back on the Buddha's teaching. And one of the words that rings very true in my ears was actually, when your body is sick, don't allow your mind to be sick. This is in the Dhammapada. And I realized that I shouldn't succumb to that body aches. I shouldn't succumb to the body ailments, but allow my mind to be positive, allow my mind to be calm, allow my mind to be happy. And when your mind is in that state of positivity, a lot of negativities will then be disappear. So it is a good lesson that as a result, I continue to enjoy my stay in the hospital. And after a month, there was actually a discharge, where the doctors still could not find the cause, but rather let me rest at home. 3 months later, I was fully recovered because of that positivity. And then at the end of the day, I survived until today. I'm 66 now and still healthy and well. In the practice of compassion, it must not only be a theory, it must be put into action. And I've always wondered that when a lot of us, when we were practicing the virtue of compassion, many a times we only practiced it at very ad hoc basis. Now, reason is because we only visit some of these charity homes. We only go and shower our love and kindness to the aged and ill people, only at certain, periodic times. But compassion should not be only practiced on an ad hoc basis. It should be a full time. And if we don't get ourselves involved, then the compassion will never be strong. The compassion will never be lasting. And because of that, I was very much involved in a project in the Himalayan region of Ladakh. I met Venerable Sanghasena when he first came to Malaysia back in 1990. I was very impressed by his looks and his exhibition of compassion. And when he started to tell me the story about what he intends to do to bring the children from the mountains and to educate them. And he also emphasized that education is the only way to uplift a community and a people. And he wanted to start the school. He wanted to start a campus where he can bring the children, educate them, train them until they are able to then go out into the society and work for themselves without being involved in a nomadic life, going from mountains to mountains, and being involved in the agricultural communities and not being able to progress. So I decided to support him. And as a result, that was the beginning of my compassionate work and charitable work that I do in Ladakh, Himalayas. I decided to pay him a first visit, and that was back in 1996. So the first visit that I went together with a few friends, I realized that he actually put every cent, every dollar into the charitable work that he intends to do. And it is actually a wish fulfilled. And because of that inspiration, because of that confidence, I then decided to organize more charitable mission in order to visit him and to bring support to his activities. And that was the beginning of a series of visits for over 20 years. Ladakh has now become a huge campus for the not only for the children, but it's also for the elderly, for the blind, and the hospitals is actually serving the community at large. So with that, the lesson learned is that when we want to exhibit and practice compassion, we must do it on a long-term basis and get involved in a project rather than on an ad hoc basis. So it's good that each one of us take up a project of his, a project, and continue to then serve it, nourish it, and promote it to your best effort. That will be action, compassion in action. Now, there was instances when the sponsorship program has created a lot of students who were supported and a lot of students who were given the opportunity to be educated. And then some of them even to the extent of becoming university graduates. But there was one instance when I was actually very disappointed in that all these graduates who have benefited a lot from this sponsorship program never came back. And those who came back were only very, fleeting. And after a while, they were then left. And some of them did not follow up on the charity that they were supposed to actually continue. So at that instance, I wanted to give up and say, no point. And if I continue to help them. But on the other side, when I was started to think that what was the purpose of our charity? Our purpose of charity is to elevate a society, elevate a community, so that they can benefit as good humans, so that they can benefit as good parents, so that they can benefit as good citizens of a country. And if we can achieve that, then we shouldn't, expect. And if we don't expect, then we wouldn't be disappointed. So a lot of charity is when we do things like this, don't expect anything in return. Believe in the act. Believe in the action that you are doing. And if it brings a lot of benefits to others, so be it. If it doesn't, at least you have rejoiced in what you have done. So we always go for the long-term benefits itself. Throughout the years, I have actually benefited a lot from the Buddha's teachings. And it is good that once a while, we have to sit back and reflect upon what are the benefits that we have accrued. And I've actually been very fortunate that because of the practice of the Dhamma, I maintain a very good posture. And it seems that from this good posture, these good attitudes, this positive thinking, the mind then creates a glow, a smiling face, and also a very good personality. And I believe this goodness that I've accrued and benefited from it actually helps me to win a lot of friends, and even to a certain extent, win a lot of benefactors and supporters. I realized that throughout my whole career, I've never attended a full-fledged interview. I've actually moved on from job to job. And each time, as I was being approached to join a company, they do not need me to undergo an interview or an evaluation. And I was offered promotions after promotions. And subsequently, I very strongly believe that this is a result of the good actions and the good merits that I have accrued. And because of that, I've actually decided that I must continue to do whatever good that I can with this life. And as a result, I'm then able to accrue more benefits which will last me for a long, long time. And as we talk about benefits, we also talk about merits. And we talk about merits, we talk about good karmas. And good karmas are always our benefactor. We enjoy a lot of goodness in our life because we have generated a lot of good karma. And it actually protects, it guides, it supports, and gives us a lot of new benefits that we accrue. And at the same time as we benefited, we also like to feel joyful, rejoice in what we have done. And this rejoicing and joy always cannot be kept within ourselves. We will always like to share. And this sense of an earnestness to share our joys and our rejoicing and our punyas always drives us towards doing a lot of Dhammadutta work, doing a lot of services to others, doing a lot of transformation in other people. And as a result, we realize that happiness cannot be kept within ourselves. So if one feels joy, then there will always be a sense of sharing. So I believe this has actually contributed towards a lot of my missionary work, a lot of my services to the sasana. When we continue to do our missionary work, when we continue to serve others, there is joy to see that that person has changed, that person has transformed. And when that transformation changes them into kind people, into happy people, into peaceful people, and when you see that transformation happen and they have benefited from it, you feel a lot of happiness. And when that kind of joy and happiness will then drive you to say that, yes, I want to continue to do the same work, to transform as many more people. And that is the reason why I've continued for so many years without fail, that if my services are required and I'm able to contribute towards the Dhamma Duta, towards the sasana, I will always be there. And that spirit has actually been with me for many, many years. Even to the extent of someone were to call me up and says, I've invited a speaker, but the speaker couldn't come tomorrow. Can you stand in for him? Can you come and help us out? I would always be ever ready. If I do not have an appointment the next day or a slot which is free, I will always be there. And that kind of missionary spirit, I believe, arrives because of seeing the transformation and seeing the appreciation and joy in the many people that you have contributed to. That gives you a lot of encouragement. That gives you a lot of drive in order to continue with your missionary work. And in our life, if we can live with a sense of purpose, we must have a purpose in our life. What do you intend to do? We are here only for a very short time. And during this period of short life, probably maybe for 60, 70, 80 years of life, we must always remember that at the last moment when we are departing, we have to ask ourselves this question: what have I done with my life? If we can think back that we have contributed towards humanity, we have contributed towards others' joys, we have contributed towards the sasana, and we remember all those good instances that we have contributed, those memories itself will give you a very happy thought. And imagine if you were to pass on in your last moments with those happy thoughts. If there is heaven, you are definitely there. So that was a purpose in my life, that I must continue to contribute, to be of service, and to do whatever within my means, whether it is either through my money or wealth, whether it is through my efforts where I can speak and take action. I must avail myself to this opportunity. And that was the reason that kept me so energetic and so enthusiastic towards the Buddha's teachings and also towards the dispensation of what the Buddha taught. Now, I think we are all facing very difficult times in the pandemic. And I realized that, that the Buddha has actually taught us about the laws of nature. And nature always have a way to rejuvenate. Nature has a way to rebalance itself in order to come back to equanimity or come back to stability. And you will notice that at every period of time, there is going to be crises, there's going to be pandemic, there's going to be changes that is going to happen in our life. And as Buddhists, I've always realized that, changes are inevitable. And it is how we understand the changes and then how we manage it. Now, this pandemic has already happened. Are we going to despair? Are we going to be disappointed? Are we going to worry about the loss of our jobs and at the same time worry about our way of life? But as long as we can maintain a good peace of our minds, it's very important, because I always maintain that if your mind is at peace, your mind is at equanimous states, the answers will come. The sense of happiness will then give us a solution to overcome it. Now, life is a cycle. And from the lessons that we learn, a lot of ups and downs. But for every up, there will be a down. For every down, there will always be an up. So it's good that we understand this and always have good hopes. And I believe my life has actually gone into stages where I sometimes face some downs, but I'm not in despair. I'm not in a depressed state. But if I can write that down, the cycle of the down, eventually when it starts to come up, that is when I begin to enjoy the benefits. So if we can tune our mind to this, I believe we can overcome. And my life has not been what you call totally rosy. There are some instances when there was some what you call failures, that I've not been able to manage to do the things I want to do and get the things that I want to expect. But the mind must always be in strong, positive mode. And if that happens, the answers will come, the solution will arise, and we will then be able to overcome. So this is a good lesson to learn. And I strongly believe in it. And that was the reason why every crisis, I always face it with this positivity of mind.
Thank you very much, Datuk Charlie. Your unwavering commitment to the Buddha Sasana for the past 45 years is indeed an inspiring story, one which we can learn very much from. Brother O. Kim Leng's story is indeed a profile in courage and hope. I personally have learned so much from Brother O. Kim Leng. Let us now introduce Brother O.
Since young, Brother O. Kim Leng has been a gifted individual. He excelled in his academics, was a natural sportsman, and was talented in music and singing. His lifelong dream, however, was to become a teacher, as he had an outstanding command of English and Malay, and possessed a natural flair for connecting with people. Brother O graduated from a teacher's training college in Kuala Lumpur and was posted to Kuala Lemai, a small remote village in Sarawak. Despite being far from a familiar environment, Brother O exuded great warmth and enthusiasm for teaching, which quickly endeared him to his students and the village community. Everything seemed to be going for Brother O, but that was about to change in an instant. One fateful day, while taking a bath in the river, a tragic accident changed his life forever.
Bila nak terjun dalam sungai itu, tebing pecah. Dia pecah maknanya dah tak jauh. Jadi bila dah jatuh, tengkuk dulu terseliu macam ni. Jadi oleh kerana itu patah. Mungkin letak tulang ke-5 dan ke-6. Jadi lepas tu lumpuh dari bahu ke bawah.
His future seemed dark. He had just begun a rewarding career and now faced a lifetime of not knowing whether he would even survive. But it was not in Brother O's nature to take things lying down, and his indomitable spirit shone through.
Tak ada apa-apa yang dapat kita kesalkan. Hidup pun terlalu singkat. Kalau nak menyesal itu kita pun letih kerana menyesal. Letih kerana bimbang. Letih kerana memikirkan perkara yang bukan-bukan. Go forward, go for it. And give it all you've got. Yang saya tahu cuma satu. Kalau saya duduk di rumah tak buat apa-apa, macam mana saya nak lalu hari demi hari? Sebab saya baru saja berusia 24 tahun. Susah untuk dibayangkan, mesti kita buat sesuatu. Jadi saya memang dah ambil keputusan untuk bangkit.
Supported by family, friends, and his faithful wife, Brother O continues his passion for teaching and has provided tuition to hundreds of students over the past 3 decades. He doesn't just guide them in their studies, but gives them crucial life advice and inspires them to live a more grateful and purposeful life. Brother O Kim Leng is a living example of a person who truly never gives up. Guided by the Buddha Dharma, he has broken through his own challenges and brings the light of hope and inspiration to countless others around him.
I would like to thank Brother Siang Chye and the organizers for allowing me to share some thoughts in these 20 minutes. We live at a time where many people have fallen into difficulties, and some call it a new normal. I do not really know what a new normal is, because every new normal after some times is just another normal. But I know there is one thing that is normal about life. That is, it has its ups and downs. That is normal. And in the ever-changing situation of life, if we can find the best possible response for every situation, I believe that it can contribute significantly to the common well-being, happiness, and peace of everyone. I could still remember during the early days when I just came back from the hospital, a venerable monk came to visit and I was alone in my room. He asked me, "How are you?" I couldn't reply immediately because I simply was not sure. Then after a while, he asked again, "Are you sad?" And I replied, "I don't know." To which he said, "That is a good answer." Of course, I was surprised. Then he went on to tell a story about a farmer who went farming with a horse, and the villagers saw him on the way and said, "Wow, you have a horse. You are very lucky." And the farmer said, "Maybe." And then he went to plow his land, he got tired, he fell asleep, lost his horse, and he had to go home without his horse. And the same villagers saw him, "Where is your horse?" I said, "It ran away." "Wow, you are very unlucky." The farmer thought for a while and said, "Maybe." Then the next day the farmer went to plow his land again, this time without a horse, and to his surprise, when he reached his farmland, he saw 2 horses, his old horse and a young horse. Probably the horse must have ran into the mountains and came back with a girlfriend, probably. And this time he came home pulling 2 horses. And the villagers saw him again and says, "Wow, I thought your horse was missing." "Well, you see, it came back. I saw it under the tree. And now this one, he must be its companion." "Wow, you are very lucky. You get a free horse." And the farmer said, "Maybe." And true to his words, upon reaching home, his son, his one and only son, saw the new horse, got so excited, and without thinking that it is a wild horse, climbed on its back, fell from its back, broke his leg. The villagers came running to him and said, "Wow, why bring back such an unlucky horse?" He says, "Look, your son's leg is broken. You are very unlucky." And the farmer said, "Maybe." That evening, soldiers came to the village, banging on their doors, looking for young men to go to war. They gathered all the village young men, and then when they came to the farmer's house, look at the son in the room with a broken leg. They say, how can you break your leg at a time like this where the country needs you? How can you fight a war with a broken leg? You are excused. And of course the villagers came running to his house. Wow, lucky your son's leg broken, or else you are very lucky. And I think you know what the farmer's reply was. Maybe. And this story that was told to me taught me about the beauty of realizing equanimity, a balanced state of mind, a mind that is not too quick to judge. Upekkha, equanimity. I have learned that things change all the time. Change is a worldly condition. As mentioned in the Atta Loka Dhamma, the 8 worldly conditions. There will be days you will be famous, you will be praised, you will gain something, and you will have happy times, good times. Remember, don't be arrogant. Remember, be mindful. Don't be too excited. Things change. There will be days where we will be facing disrepute, or our reputation becomes soiled. Days where instead of praise we are blamed. Days where we suffer losses. Loss too in terms of wealth, or even health, or anything. Loss of friends, friendship. And there will be days where sorrow and pain is the order of the day. Don't beat yourself too much. Don't do that. Don't torture yourself. Because these are the 8 worldly conditions. Sometimes they are called the 8 winds. 8 winds. I like the word wind. You do not know when it will blow, how it will blow, where it will blow from, and sometimes we don't even know why. When the wind blows, it blows. The winds of change. The secret is when the wind direction is changed, and you cannot change the direction of the wind, you can always change the direction of your sail. If the wind is gentle, go for a walk. At places where the wind is strong, harness electricity. And what if the wind becomes a hurricane? Do the necessary. Bunker in. Stay somewhere safe. Hold your peace and wait out the storm. The storm will pass. Then we can emerge stronger, better, more knowing about the forces of change. And we can better our life, pick up the pieces, dust ourselves, and move on, bettering ourselves each day. There are better days. There are difficult days. I don't deny it. Neither can we. But I have learned there are no bad days. There are good days, sure. Rejoice. Bad days? Difficult days, yes. Just equip ourselves with the best of intention. Put in the best effort in seeking solutions. and trust, things will get better. Well, not always, but at least we face it with courage. Most important is, no matter what the situation in life, is be kind. Be kind to ourselves. Be kind to others. So if others choose to be unkind to us, leave them to the choices they make. Let them gather whatever deeds they want to do and gather whatever consequences they will face. We make it our business to be kind. The 8 winds seems to suggest that fortunate days will turn into difficult days and difficult days will turn into better days. But not yet, I thought that March 1985 is as horrible as a day could get. I lost my youth, I lost my health, I lost my ability to even breathe properly, and that's why in this video you see me panting a little bit. I lost my ability to play the guitar, the drums, and I can't sing anymore. Forget about wayfarers. I thought that is as difficult as a day can get in the life of a person. But not until I checked into the hospital, and there I was pushed into a room. A nurse stripped me totally naked, put tubes into my body, and then she left the room without closing the door. The worst thing was, I hear people walking by. I can't see because I can't move. I hear people giggling. And the worst is, girls are giggling. And not only giggling in between the giggles, I hear people say, "Ni kanoma, ni kanoma. Hey, do you see that?" Wow. I can't move. I can't even talk at that moment. I can't even scream for help because I had no voice. I had an operation done to my throat to facilitate breathing. It's called a tracheostomy. So I'm like a human being without a voice. And I lie down there feeling very angry, very hopeless, very helpless, and you name all the superlatives you want, and I really feel like... Anyway, it was a rotten feeling. What do you do in such situations? Then I did something magical. What is that? I told myself, if I pretend to be dead, they will not giggle because people will be very scared to see a dead body, right? So why am I struggling? I said, I just pretend to be dead and let them look at a dead body. They'll probably stop laughing. It might probably frighten them and keep them quiet. And I did that. First, to make sure it's realistic, you cannot breathe too hard. So I breathe as gently as I can, so that my stomach go up slowly, come down slowly, in breath, out breath, as gently as I can, so that the up and down movement of my stomach cannot be noticed. Surprisingly, I actually felt better. There's a time of my life, playing dead is better than being alive. And in that moment, I experienced some peace. Some more peace. And then peace came. I forgave myself. Kim Leng, you didn't ask for this. Don't beat yourself. Don't torture yourself further. To that nurse, forgive her. Maybe she rushed out of the room because there was an emergency. Forgive her. Those giggling, they don't know. They may be teenagers. To a teenager, everything is fun. I forgave. And in that moment, something that I used to hear in the temple, when the body is sick, don't let the mind be sick. I really saw how sick my mind was with anger, how sick my mind was with helplessness, how sick my mind was with expectations, with judgment, with a lot of things. And when peace came, I learned one thing in life. When we die, other people will say RIP on our behalf. That kind of peace is not very valuable. RIP should be respond in peace. The peace that you can experience while alive is 1,000,000 times better than the peace that people offer you as a dead body. This is something that moment taught me. And this moment actually helped me a lot in my outlook to the rest of the challenges that I was to face in the coming days after that accident. Besides being kind, I will also encourage everyone to be helpful. Avoid evil, do good. Do good. That means be helpful. Anything that can improve upon the lives of others, can bring well-being and happiness to oneself and others, that is helpful. Do it. Just now, we saw that even doing nothing, pretending to be dead, can be helpful. Being helpful does not mean that we must do something. Sometimes, trying not to do something that is hurtful to ourselves and others is indeed helpful too. In fact, doing nothing and allowing ourselves to just peace out is better than to be pissed off with a lot of people and a lot of things all the time. I think we can agree with that. So, remember that. If it's not helpful, abandon it. We are here for the greater good of all. Simply so. Yeah? Finally, be true. Be a person who is true. Be honest and do our honest best always. Be true also means that we do not make up stories. Our minds are expert in doing that. Something happens and then all kinds of emotions and feelings will rush in. And then we start a narrative that doesn't seem to have an ending. Until we get so tired of being tired. When we hate, we keep on hating. When we want something, we become so greedy about it that it cannot stop. And the same thing goes with any kinds of emotion, be it good or not good. To stop, sometimes we need to anchor. Anchor ourselves somewhere. Don't be like a boat that is being washed away by the currents. Tie that boat. Anchor our emotions and our being somewhere. And we all know that breathing in, breathing out is the best way to press pause so that the narrative does not go on until it poisons all of the rest of life. Besides breathe in, breathe out, there's also one useful method. Just look at the situation, think of all of life, and just say, be well, be happy. And the chances will be you will reclaim all your remaining energy in doing something more fruitful and beneficial to your life and that of everyone and every being around you. With that, I wish you peace, and may the Dhamma protect and bless every one of you here. Thank you very much for this opportunity to share some thoughts. May all beings be well and happy.
Thank you, Brother O. Kim Leng. We are so impressed when we listen to your story. Hopefully, it will motivate those who are facing challenges to face them with the same positivity that you have. Dear Dhamma brothers and sisters, we have listened to all three panel speakers share their thoughts. Each of them had their own unique story to share with us about how they have fulfilled a purpose. We have listened, and I hope that we will reflect upon what we have learned from them to form our own personal purpose in life. We have learned that human life is rare and precious. So let us strive to make the best use of our opportunities to achieve something for ourselves and also for our community. Let us not, as Brother O. Kim Leng said, be tossed about aimlessly by the winds of life, but to anchor ourselves to a suitable purpose so that we might be useful to others in this life. And in that way, we give our life true purpose as well as meaning. Dear Dhamma brothers and sisters, we are now going to start our question and answer session. If you have any questions you would like to direct to the speakers, please type them in the comments box and also indicate whom of the speakers you would want to direct the question to, whether to Venerable Sumangala, whether it is to Datuk Chia, or to Brother O. Kim Leng. So write it down, and we will prepare we will get the speakers to respond as accurately and as appropriately as possible. Okay, so we have some questions coming in here already, and this is directed to Venerable Sumangala. It's an interesting question for us. What is your advice, Venerable, for us as lay practitioners to remain on this path of cultivation? Venerable?
Thank you, Chye. Well, it's not only for lay practitioner. It is important whether for monastic or lay practitioner, the importance to remain on the path of cultivation. I think a lot of us may think we commonly say path of cultivation, but what path and what cultivation? I think it's important to know that. So firstly, if we have learned about the Buddha Dhamma, the very guide, very important one, is the Noble Eightfold Path. So we have to know what path we are taking, because there are so many paths. And so the key direction will be the Noble Eightfold Path. And what to cultivate? So in the Noble Eightfold Path, we can see that this path is the path that leads to the end of suffering. So this is the path that we are cultivating. And to remain in this path of cultivation, we must know what to cultivate. So firstly, of course, in the 8 factors, we know that the first basis is, of course, the path to cultivate morality, the virtue of the mind. In a simple form for lay people, you can observe and practice the 5 principles of life, the 5 precepts well, to avoid the unwholesome. Yeah, and then of course the next thing is to ennoble the mind or the action or the character towards good quality of mind, such as the opposite of each. Yeah, from harming and killing to, of course, loving kindness and compassion, then to generosity, and then honesty, and to the truthfulness, and also to keeping the mind clear, yeah, and free from intoxication. Then, of course, the cultivation of meditation, of bhavana, through our life is very important. So, it is important to associate with the wise people, because without associating with the wise, then our path may be swayed, yeah? Especially sometimes when we want to do good deeds, and another friend would like to invite you to something that is unwholesome, maybe not typically unwholesome, but it is going towards sensual pleasure, that can actually sway your path too. Yeah, in the cultivation, of course, mindfulness is very important all the time. And so these are the key things: right association. And also, when we say right association, it means also not just you have right association, but it also must disassociate with the wrong association. Because if you have right association and wrong association, so you are going neither way, right? And the tendency is for people to go into the wrong direction or wrong path very easily, sway to sensual pleasure very easily. So keep that process, like Buddha say, the blessings of, disassociate with the unwholesome, and then associate with the wholesome. And from there, you will be able to gain more faith, yeah, in the Buddha Dhamma, yeah, and also the living, abiding by the Dhamma. Yeah, we may think that we learn the Dhamma, but if we are not living by the Dhamma, then again, to remain on the path is very slim. Yeah, so living, abiding by the Dhamma, not just learning intellectually, but living by it. Yeah, and then I think it's also important to have guidance from Sangha and also a teacher, whether a lay teacher, so that one can continue to grow the mind, to cultivate the mind higher, to experience, yeah, the part of the samadhi and panya. And with that, then they will be able to have true confidence, because they know, they experience that insight, that knowledge, and that is not being able to be taken away. And because of that, then one have that faith, full faith in walking the path. So that can help them to go all the way. Like the Buddha said, never just be satisfied, yeah, with a partial attainment, but even with that glimpse, yeah, that will help them to stay on to that path, hopefully, until they realize the ultimate goal of freedom from the cycle of suffering. Yeah, so those are the few points I'd like to share. Yeah.
Thank you, Venerable Sumangala, for that very compassionate answer, to the question. Now we take a look at the questions. Yes, and this one is directed to Datuk Chia. It says, "Dear Datuk Charlie, in our practice of Dhamma, we feel happiness and satisfaction in our lives. So, from Datuk's experience, how do you share the joy from the practice with others, especially people who are not into Buddhism, and at the same time, not being seen as being forceful and pushy? So what is the best entry point for us to share our experience, to spread this joy that we have acquired?" Datuk Charlie?
Thank you, Brother Chye, and dear brothers and sisters, happy Dhamma Day, and may you be well and happy. Basically, put it this way, when we are feeling the joy and we are having a lot of happiness in our minds, you don't need to, speak out. Also, you will be able to radiate and people will then be what you call affected by the joy that is within you. But you don't have to dedicate it to only the people who are within your same faith. It is actually open to all the people around you, irrespective of whether race, religion, or creed. But at the same time, they will always be able to ask you this question. You know, many a times people have approached me and says, why are you smiling all the time, and why are you looking so happy all the time? Then that is the opportunity where you say, well, have a seat and let me just explain to you. That starts your Dhamma talk. And most of the time, you actually relate of how you are able to understand the various vicissitudes of life, right? The ups and the downs and the difficulties and the challenges. And when you are able to understand it and knowing and applying the formula of life, which is actually our the Four Noble Truths, then you are then able to put all this in perspective. You identify that, yes, that person has a problem, that person has a difficulty, or that person has a sense of unsatisfactoriness or unhappiness. The second, of course, what was the cause? So if the cause must be something that they are attached to, something which they don't want to change, something that they want to continue to exist in the same manner as they expect. But unfortunately, all phenomena are impermanent. They will change. And when you know that these are the causes of the change, then the third noble truth then sets in and says, well, can you cease from the cause? Can you let it go? Can you be free from it? So you have to have the discipline to then try to develop your actions, your speech, your thoughts, to be what you call detached from those causes. And then as you see all this release and all this detachment takes place, then the mind then sinks into a lot of peace, happiness, understanding, and the joy and the enlightenment then arises in the mind. And that is what we call the application of the Four Noble Truths as a formula, because all the problems, all the difficulties, and all the sense of dilemmas always can be resolved by just applying that formula itself. And even a non-Buddhist would be able to understand this. And if they can see it in that manner, then they know that that is a formula to resolve a lot of their problems. And thus their life will become better and happier. Thank you.
Thank you, Datuk Chia. You know, that answer has come from many years of experience of dealing with Buddhists as well as non-Buddhists. So much wisdom in that. Now, let me take a look at the questions. And this question is directed towards Brother O. Kim Leng. And it shows that the audience is listening very intently to Brother O's talk. This question goes like this. Thank you for your sharing, Brother O. You mentioned in your talk that you have good days and difficult days, but no bad days. Why do you say this, Brother O?
Thank you for the question. Brother Charlie says he's 66 years old, and I'm 60, and I've made it so far. And every morning when I get up, the first thing I notice is that I'm still breathing. And while I was asleep, millions all over the world did not make it through the night. And I'm one of those lucky ones that made it again. How can there be a bad day? The only thing bad about this day so far was I missed the entire talk by Venerable Sumangala just now because my whole house got blacked out. The Naga national problem. And then my assistant was trying to rearrange things. And then what do? Now, this is that small challenge we have in life, but it does not make it a bad day. It just opens up opportunities for you to respond to it appropriately and as wisely as we know how to. And therefore, the electricity came back, and here I am. You know, I was going through the net the other day and I saw Venerable Ajahn Chah's meditation center, it has this signboard that says, if you have time to breathe, you have time to meditate. And getting a new day means you still got time to breathe. But we breathe in and breathe out every day. Many of us are just surviving, but we are not living life. In the Salaka Sutta, the Buddha gave a very beautiful analogy. He says, when pain happens, it's like being hit by a dart. We experience physical pain through our senses. And then to a normal person, not only it is a physical pain, what makes us suffer more is actually the mental pain that follows it. That means it's like we being hit by the second dart. And that second dart is the one that is poisonous in life. Truly, there are no bad days because events, circumstances is never against or for anyone. It is our response whether we wisely reflect and wisely act upon it that decides whether we win the day or we lose it. That is all. And then being hit by the first dart simply means that pain happens. And we know there are very many people making their own quotes and say, but suffering is optional. If we reflect deep enough and we see the influence of anicca, dukkha, anatta, when we see, and that is another topic to go into, not for today because of time constraints, we will realize that it is like a person being bitten by a snake. What do you ask? What's the first question that comes to your mind? The first question is it poisonous? Oh, no, it's not poisonous. And suddenly you feel relieved. I think pain is like that. It is just pain. It happens and you say, ouch. But the problem with life is if mental pain visits us and we let it go on and on and on and on and on, second dart is poisonous. So I think there are no bad days. A new day is an opportunity for us to right our wrongs, for us to correct our mistakes, for us to have opportunities to do wholesome deeds, to reflect, renew, and refine our lives so that we can be free from unnecessary sorrow and pain. And why there are good days? Because every day is good enough. But is our response good enough? Don't blame the day. That's why you see a lot of rich people born beautiful, people born famous. Yeah? Not necessarily that they are happy, because of the second dart. That's what I think. And therefore, I commit myself to this statement that there are good days. Bad days, how can it be bad when we woke up this morning? Yeah? So I wish that this answer is useful for those who I must have confused. And I hope that if there are any mistakes further, Venerable Sumangala will correct me if I'm wrong. Thank you very much, Brother Chye, and thank you very much for the question too.
Thank you, Brother O. It's always good to listen to you share your ideas and wisdom. I have another question here for you, Brother O. It goes like this. It is difficult for some people to make a decision due to their fear. And this is the problem that my daughter, the person's daughter, is having now. So how should I encourage her in making decisions? Brother O?
That is why I think just now that to be alive is an opportunity for us to relearn, renew, and refine our lives. There will be difficulties, there will be uncertainties. That's why your daughter is worried, right? And there will be days where we become so helpless. Like if the Naga National don't own the electricity back, that's a form of helplessness, but we don't have to go bonkers because of that, So to refine our responses to life, I give an example, When difficulties strike, what is the normal way of reacting to it? What do we lose when difficulty starts? We always lose our temper first. And then we go down on the spiral, started by that temper. But what if we summon patience, for example? Because patience is not only buying time, no? Patience allows us some peace and think about it. When uncertain, and then we go around diligently looking for solutions, and there will be one, whatever that solution is. But if we lose our temper, we have lost it. But if we summon patience, it helps. And then we refine that. For example, uncertainties that we have been talking about, especially these days. When uncertainty arises, what do we invite first? Our normal way of habitual life. We invite worries. And you worry and worry and worry. Does it solve anything? I don't think so. What if, when uncertainties happen, we free ourselves from fear and then make preparations? Just make preparations. What happens if we find ourselves in a helpless situation? For example, there was one day I was at home, one of those years, so enthusiastic and excited about marking a lot of essays on that day. And I got up at 8:30 in the morning. I set up already. Then the boy helping me says, okay, I go to work. I say, okay, thank you. And he put my pen beside me, and I was so excited. Today I'm going to mark a lot of essays. And before I could start the first one, I sneezed. Achoo. And what happened? The pen rolled down to the floor. And I looked, oops. First dot. Dot number 1. Oops. Ouch. So what do? I look at my cordless phone. Shall I call someone? And he says, Kim Leng, 8:30 in the morning. You want to ask someone to drive all the way to your house just to pick up a pen. So what do? What do you do? We summon peace. Just look at it peacefully and say, paper, today I got no class. I can mark in the afternoon. Somebody will come. And I decided, don't call. So what do? You stare at an empty house where no one is walking around. You're all alone. And suddenly you realize you can read a book. And somebody said, the best book to read is your heart. Read your heart. Breathe in, breathe out. Although at the back of your mind, somebody please calm. And you become calm. And nobody came. It does not matter. At least dropping a pen does not destroy a life. Destroy a day at least. And that's how we keep on winning our days. And days well won is a life well won too. So I hope that answers that question.
Very good. Thank you so much, Brother Om. The next question goes to Venerable Sumangala again. And it goes like this. How do we redirect anger? Feeling of unsatisfactoriness, especially when one is faced with seemingly endless unhappy situations. Venerable?
Thank you, Chye. So we all know that what is the most unhappy things when a person gets angry. So first, we have to know that anger is unwholesome, but how come we still get angry? Yeah, the root of even the anger, the subtleness of it is, of course, in the sutta we always say ill will. Yeah, it started with the ill will. Why ill will started? Because of self-centeredness. So when we have certain thoughts or certain ideas that we cling on, and then when something comes up which is different from what we think or what we expect, then we get angry about it. Because why? We think that we are out of control. We cannot fulfill what we want. And therefore, it deserves the anger to be arise so that we'll be able to get the things that we want. So most of the time, it is in vain, because that is not the way. Because firstly, it harms us. Even in research, we can see that when a person gets angry, even for that few moments, it actually harms them more than anything else. For example, even the research I've mentioned here, when a person gets angry, it takes about 6 hours to come back to that normalcy. So can you imagine, you just have to have one anger, you lose your temper, and you have to suffer for a long time. Is it worth it? So before we get angry, we have to always pause. Is it worthy to be angry? Number one, because it harms us. Just as I would have said, when we have all these unwholesome thoughts or even the angry thoughts, first we have to replace it. Try to learn to replace it with another thought. I remember last time, even during my work time, people get angry, and the whole situation was so difficult. And then at one point we asked ourselves, if you all can get angry, I too can get angry, because I'm human too. Normally we try to reason it that way, but at that moment I was thinking, everyone is in the dark, and if in that dark I also lose my anger, then what will it be? Everybody in the dark. When everybody in the dark, they will bang each other, then they get injured, and nobody actually benefit from that. So it's better for us. In one way, at that moment, I realized no matter how dim my light is, I should not lose my anger, because if I lose my anger, I'll be the same in the dark. So at that moment, I remember that I just tell myself, I need to hold on to this light. Even no matter how dim is this light, I must hold on, because why? In the dark, even with a dim light, you still can see something. You see some hope of change. You see some hope for peace. You see hope for harmony. And you see hope for betterment of what it is after that. So with that, I remember I just hold on to that dim light. And true enough, because of that patient understanding and forgiveness, and then situation changed back to be better. And everyone become, more peaceful, more harmony. And it is with peace and harmony that progress can take place, that change for better can take place. So no matter how, it's always remember that do not lose our anger. I think in Chinese proverb, there's one saying is, 人要我气我不气，我若生气动他忌，要是气死没人替，想想还是别生气。Meaning, if people want us to get angry or make us angry, don't succumb to that trap, Because if you fall angry, then if you get injured, you die or whatever, then nobody can replace. So it's better to choose to have loving kindness, instead of getting angry. So in our thoughts, we should always also learn to practice. So it's through that practice and training, then we'll be able to see another person, whether in anger or whatever, to see them as, oh, this person is suffering. And how can we help them at the moment? If we can't help them in saying something to them, we can at least, in our heart, to wish them well. So some people say, how could you be wishing people well when they are scolding you or getting angry with you? So to have a balance, so you can well wish yourself first, may I be well, then may you be well. So, okay, break even, so you don't have like lopsided feeling that, why he scolded me, then I still have to wish them, So you can have that kind of practices. And also it's good every time when you see somebody, it's always good to have this thought of goodwill towards others. So then only situation can be resolved, because nobody wants suffering. So in that understanding of suffering, how to overcome suffering, and then we can end that suffering. So we can help ourselves and we can help others to stay in peace, to stay calm, and to stay in harmony. Because remember, because harmony, then only we can see betterment or progress in whatever that is limited that we have. There is always a way out, and always stay calm. then it can resolve matter. Thank you, Brother Sanjay.
Thank you, Venerable Sumangala. As I was reflecting as Venerable was speaking, I realized that there is so much to learn and to actually practice. This question now goes to Datuk Charlie. How do we encourage the younger generation, that is, students in secondary school and also university, to face the future with confidence? COVID-19 and this MCO have given them a lot of negative mind states, due to there being less jobs, there is no physical studies, they are not allowed to go to school or to college, and then there is a lack of social skills. So how do we make the younger generation more confident and more positive? Datuk?
Well, in times of negativities like this, the only way to counter is to maintain a peace of mind. And of course, sometimes it's quite difficult because when you are so disturbed by the various events and happenings, then you will always have this problem of trying to focus. But the most important thing is that our young Buddhists must realize that these are some of the impermanence and crises, uncertainties and changes that happens in everyone's life. And by understanding that changes is inevitable and that you are then able to accept the change that is happening. And if you are able to accept the change, then life moves on and life carries on. And it's important to also understand that during this crisis itself, those things which you can't do and you are not able to do, then for the time being, rest at peace. But on the other hand, think of what you can do in this present moment of life. There are many people like us who, deprived of so many other activities, suddenly realize that you have so many other activities that you can do. And you were waiting to do it while waiting for the right time and right moments. And people write their books, people learn new things, people start to do spring cleaning, people start to learn how to cook and prepare for what you call the daily chores. So many things. And actually it's not boring. And for many of us who are able to take it in the positive light, pandemic, lockdowns, well, it is a good opportunity to go back to nature, do a lot of things that we wish to do, and eventually have a good peace of mind and learn as much as we can. So it's never a dull moment, it's never a missed opportunity. So if the youths can think like that, if you can't do A, you can actually do B. And eventually, there is always the positive side of things. So hopefully, they can carry on having that positivity in mind and move forward rather than be stagnant and say, oh, I'm sorry, I cannot have any advance. Even my study will be affected. Well, if you don't study in this manner, you can study in another manner. Of course, now you have the online or what's called alternatives, but at the same time, you can also look into other knowledge where you can accrue. Right? So with that, thank you.
Thank you, Datuk Charlie. It is a very practical advice that you have shared with everyone. We now come to the last question. And again, I direct it towards Venerable Sumangala. It goes like this. How do we explain and console the family whose members have passed away due to COVID-19? Although seemingly, they are fully following SOP and all kinds of safety precautions, and yet they contract the virus and then they pass away. So how do we talk to the family? Venerable?
Right, thank you, Sanjay. So, of course, during this pandemic, during this time, we hear a lot of death, and we extend our what they call our heart for what they have experienced. But at the same time, I think in reality, most of us, as we live, we tend to forget that our lifespan is actually marked, and we do not know that, especially even as Buddhists, sometimes we think when we do good, we may not die. Is that true? But of course, doing good is good, but we have to also come to the ultimate reality in the sense that as we are born, we have a lifespan, and one day we will pass away. So each individual have different lifespan that they carry with them. And to this, like you say, during this pandemic, it's very shocking when people hear that, especially the social media show to us here and there, everywhere is so drastic change, drastic, horrible scene and everything. But we can see that, yes, everybody try to do their best to keep well, to be alive and to be safe. But at the same time, we know that during pandemic, we are actually facing something that we cannot see, something that we cannot actually estimate, or something that we never know, even maybe our family members are carrying it, because different people have different health condition. For example, we know that for the young one, they are asymptomatic. So we do not know that they are a carrier. And at the same time, we also do not know actually in life, actually, what the Buddha has shown us or teach us to really reflect is that life is uncertain, death is certain. So we tend to forget about that. And what happened is that there are so many deaths per year that we are not heard before. For example, every year, nearly 56 million people die, but we do not know. And in Malaysia, every day, probably 470 people die every day. So we do not know until probably the pandemic comes. But now we face with this challenge. Our health is at at risk. Our lifespan is at risk. But at the same time, I think very important to understand that these are reality of life. I think just now I've mentioned, we have to really ground ourselves to understand, even in Malaysia, as we want to extend our life, averagely for men 75, women 79. So for those families who have faced, of course, challenges about a person dying in the family, I think firstly, we have asked ourselves, we have done our best to keep our life so that we'll be able to survive. For what reason? Of course, the only things I think everybody is seeking to be free from this cycle of suffering, whether a suffering of aging, that they don't get a seat or bed in the hospital because they will be giving to a younger one, so that is actually very hard, wrenching, and when you're sick, then the higher potential, higher risk, and that's why you hear about comorbidity, and then about the reality of death. So when we are faced with this, I think for family members, the first thing we ask ourselves is that, we have done our best, to help ourselves to maintain our health and to also keep to whatever we need. But there is this reality that we have to be always keep behind our mind, that there is a lifespan in every life. So we have to learn to accept that. And don't blame, like just now, I think Brother Kim Leng has mentioned, everyone has their own package. So we come alone, we also live alone. So this is where the Dhamma is so important for us to know that by doing good deeds, at least we know that we can face the situation better. I just share with you this probably my own experience. My father passed away, of course, not in COVID time, about 3 years ago. And within that 50 over days, my elder brother also passed away. Yeah. So in such a short time, but probably 50 over days, 2 of my family members passed away. Right. So I'm glad in one way that my mother, who has been a housewife for a long time, but because when they come back to KL, then we'll be able to also share with them the Dhamma. And I can see that for these 2 deaths in my family, my mother still remained very calm. And we asked my mom, I said, Mom, what do you think? And one answer that my mother gave is this, she said, Anicca. Yeah. And, so beautiful, she can answer that, Anicca. And also karma, she said. So only 2 words, Anicca, karma, because she understood what Anicca means. Yeah. Each of us have our lifespan. So while we are living, we treasure it to the most. If anybody in our family are sick, we give our best to them, guide them. Yeah. And towards the end of their life, we give them the assurance of what good they have done, what they have contributed. And with that, I think Brother Charlie, Dr. Charlie also have mentioned, the last moment. Yeah. So at least if we have not made it to Nibbana, at least, heaven is there. So that practice is very important. So what we are saying is that when our family members is around us, we treat them the best, give them the Dhamma, share with them and, the kindness. And so when they leave, don't just think that because of COVID-19, they have a bad death. No, sometimes depending on their mental state. Yeah. So if their mental state, they have been doing good, they understood, don't worry, they will have paved way for themselves to a good realm. And for the family member, we do our best, help them at the last moment, and that will help each and every one to live on and to have that good memory that we have done our best. That is the best that we can do. I hope that gives some peace of mind to face this kind of death and also to face this challenging time. So, thank you.
Thank you, Venerable Sumangala. We've come to the end of the Q&A session. I must apologize that due to the time constraints, we can't answer all the questions that have been submitted. We've had a lively discussion, and all the 3 panel speakers have actually enlarged our understanding of this topic. And for this, I would like to thank Venerable Sumangala, Datuk Chia, Brother O. Kim Leng, for so graciously spending the time with us and sharing, preparing actually, as well as sharing their experiences and their understanding of how we can live life more meaningfully if we have a purpose. So all 3 speakers have been driven by their own personal purpose. And this, we can see, has made their lives more rewarding and more satisfying. So again, thank you, panel speakers. I would also like to thank the organizing team who have put in so much effort to organize this in different ways. First, to do the video recording, and then to make sure the broadcasting over Zoom as well as Facebook is as seamless as possible. They've put in a lot of effort. Thank you, my dear Dhamma brothers and sisters. And we would like to thank you too, our audience, for joining us today on this Dhamma Day, so that we can understand the significance and the importance actually of having a purpose in our life. We should not just waste the opportunities that we have been given as human beings, with thinking mind, with wisdom, with opportunities to learn. We shouldn't let all these opportunities waste away, just float away, and live life aimlessly, or live life simply in search of more sensual pleasure. Let's tie our lives, our energy, our ability to think to a useful purpose. So I thank everyone for joining us, and hopefully that you will join us for the next activity that we organize. With that, I thank everyone, and now I would like to hand the session back to our host, Sister Ivy. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Achariya Siang, and to all our forum speakers. Your inspiring sharings and advice have given us deep inspiration and a clearer understanding of how we can conduct our lives in a more meaningful and purposeful way. We also rejoice in the active participation of everyone online, and we hope the forum today has been helpful to you. Take time to reflect on our own aspirations so that we can make clear life decisions and have the strength to overcome the myriad of life's challenges. Brothers and sisters in Dhamma, it has been a truly joyful day learning and discussing the Dhamma. Let us dedicate the merits of these wholesome deeds that we have acquired to our Dhamma teachers, parents, family members, and friends. We also share the merits with all frontliners and everyone that has been impacted by the COVID-19 pandemic. We wish them strength to overcome the challenges in this difficult time, and may all those who perished rest in peace.
Sharing of merits.
Etawata ca ammehi sampatang punya sampadang sabbe dewa sabbe satta sabbe bhuta anumodantu sabba sampati siddhiya.
May all devas, all beings, and all spirits share and rejoice in these merits that we have acquired. May this lead to the attainment of success and the fullness of blessings. Transference of merits to departed relatives.
Idang me nyatinang hotu sukhita hontu nyatayo. Idang me nyatinang hotu sukhita hontu nyatayo. Idang me nyatinang hotu sukhita hontu nyatayo.
May my departed relatives share this merit. May they be happy.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Venerable Sirs, brothers and sisters, once again, a big thank you for joining us today in this special forum organized in conjunction with Dhamma Day observance. May you be guided by your noble aspirations to live a more purposeful and meaningful life, and may we have the strength to move forward with courage and hope. May you and your loved ones be well and safe. Sukhi Hontu.
Let them shine, let them grow, put them deep inside your heart. Let it flow, let it go, don't keep it tight all alone. Find the beauty in your life. I wonder wonder what you're searching for when everything is in your hand. No more space in your room, there are no more space in your mind. What are you really looking for? Why do you keep it all yourself? Well, life is simple, there's no secret inside. Grateful feeling, faithful friends is all you need. So you need to ask yourself, will you let them in your life? Let them shine, let them grow, put them deep inside your heart. Let it flow, let it go, don't keep it tight all alone. Put all your griefs aside, be grateful and you'll find the beauty of your life. Let them shine, let them grow, put them deep inside your heart. Let it flow, let it go, don't keep it tight all alone. Put all your griefs aside, be grateful and you'll find the beauty of your life. I wonder what you're searching for when everything is in your head. No more space in your room, there are no more space in your mind. What are you really looking for? Why do you keep it all yourself? Well, life is simple, there's no secret inside. Grateful feeling, faithful friends is all you need. So you need to ask yourself, will you let them in your life? Let them shine, let them grow, put them deep inside your heart. Let it flow, let it go, don't keep it tight all alone. Put all your griefs aside, be grateful and you'll find the beauty of your life. Let them shine, let them grow, put them deep inside your heart. Let it flow, let it go, don't keep it tight all alone. Put all your griefs aside, be grateful and you'll find the beauty of your life. Inside your heart, let it flow, let it go, don't keep it tight all alone. Put all your griefs aside, be grateful and you find the beauty of your life. Let them shine, let them grow, put them deep inside your heart. Let it flow, let it go, don't keep it tight all alone. Put all your griefs aside, be grateful and you find the beauty of your life. Put all your griefs aside, be grateful and you'll find the beauty of your life. Let them shine, let them grow, put them deep inside your heart. Let it flow, let it go, don't keep it tight all alone. Put all your griefs aside, be grateful and you'll find the beauty of your life. Find the beauty of your life. Let them shine, let them grow, put them deep inside your heart. Put all your griefs aside, be grateful and you'll find the